What's going on, Bronco Nation? Nick Wade here, and welcome back to another episode of Blue Turf Talk on Bronco Nation Updates. Tonight, we've got one of the most intriguing offensive line commits in Boise State's future pipeline, a guy with size, edge, grit, and a mindset that Bronco fans are going to absolutely love. Standing nearly 6'7", pushing 290 pounds, coming out of Tualatin High School, we're talking about a two-time All-State caliber lineman, a guy who's battled adversity, put in the work, and is ready to bring that toughness to Boise. And what stands out most? This isn't just about talent, it's about mentality. This is a dude who has had 14 pancake blocks in just 3 quarters in a game alone, who went from quiet freshman to vocal leader, and who's chasing one thing, becoming a Boise State legend. Connor, welcome to Blue Turf Talk, man.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
Connor, we've been looking forward to this one. Bronco Nation loves offensive linemen, and you've got the kind of story they connect with. So let's get into it.
Let's do it.
Well, Connor, let's start at the beginning. You said you've lived in Tualatin your whole life, and interestingly, football wasn't always a given for you. Walk us through how you got started and how your mom played a big role in that decision.
Yeah, I mean, I'd always been an athletic kid growing up. My parents had me in everything from like baseball, t-ball, to swimming and track and field. My mom she loves to read, and she would read a bunch of articles talking about NFL players getting CTE from like a long time ago when all they were wearing was like hard hats, basically. And so obviously they're gonna have some brain damage. And she saw that and was just like, no kid of mine's ever gonna play football. So me nor my bigger brother really ever had that like in our heads that we were ever gonna touch the football. And it wasn't until freshman year of high school I was doing some workouts in the morning, just with like a bunch of athletes from all over. That one of the football coaches that was running, he was actually the O-line coach that ran it, Woody Toms. He kind of came up to me and was just like, we got to have you play football. Like, we got to have you come out. And so it wasn't till a lot of begging to get my mom to let me play. And she finally was open to it, and I was out on that field.
I went through the same thing when I was younger, but I was able to talk my mom into it a little bit earlier than you. So that's awesome that, that she finally let you do it. Reading up on that stuff. I know that she really enjoyed the article that we wrote about you. I saw online that she really liked it, and understandably, being a reader, it was a great read. So glad to have you on the show again after writing that article a few months ago. But take me back to that first time stepping on the field, because you described it as feeling like you belonged. What did that moment feel like internally?
Yeah, it was something that I think I'd been chasing my whole life up until that point. That feeling of just fitting in and really immersing myself into something that I loved. And it wasn't until that first game I felt like I was like, all right, this is where I belong. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And like I said, it's just something I've been chasing and couldn't find in any other sport, couldn't find doing anything else. And then once I stepped on a football field, it was pretty evident to me that this is what I was supposed to do.
Boise State has a knack for finding those that just step on the field and step into it. Most recently, Hassanin plays for the Lions now. Never really played football much of his childhood, and then just grew into it naturally.
And you mentioned on this show and also in the article your mentor, Woody Toms, and looking up to guys like Reed DeBosch. And how did those influences shape your understanding of what it means to be an offensive lineman?
Yeah, Reed was a senior my sophomore year. And so he had already, like in my mind, was already kind of that leader role mentality. And just the way he led with his voice, the way he carried himself, not only on the football field, but also outside, like just walking the halls. It kind of made playing the offensive line cool. Like he made it cool for me to play that position. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys that I always wanted to be an offensive lineman. When I was a freshman, I wanted to catch passes and score touchdowns and stuff like that. And Woody was the guy that was like, "Hey, dude, you are playing offensive line." And I was kind of just like, great, as long as I can still score. And I knew nothing about football, so I didn't know what a lineman was supposed to do in their role. He always believed in me. From day one, he always knew my potential, Woody. And me and him we just have a really close relationship where like, I would get on the headset during games because we had an assistant O-line coach on the sideline. So he'd be up in the box and I'd get on the headphones and be like, I just tell him what I'm seeing and, run my way. I can take care of this guy. We have some really great backs, and I just tell him, put him behind me and I'll get the job done. And it was just kind of like it was like fatherly love between me and Woody. He's just very intelligent, he's very wise, and I was just very fortunate and lucky to have grown up in a space where he was a mentor in my life.
And your family clearly means everything to you. As we discussed in the article, your mom, your dad, the values they've instilled, how have those shaped the way you approach football and life?
Absolutely, yeah. And I'll touch a little bit on this a little bit later, but my mom always instilled in me from when I was a kid to don't quit when it gets hard. And there's going to be a lot of times where I'm facing adversity, and I already have faced a lot of adversity, and I'm going to a lot more in the future. And it was just she has instilled my work ethic and my I kind of need to be the number one guy. Her side of the family was really athletic, and I think there's just a vein in me that just wants to compete and wants to be the best in the room. And she gave that to me. And then my dad, he always just makes sure and checks in with me that I got a level head on my shoulders. And one of the main things that I'm going to take with me in my life, not just in football, but in everything, is balance. And that's something he taught me. Just, if you're going to, and this was like a real situation where you have like an hour of video games, but you got to do an hour of yard work. And so it's just things like that where it's like, you can have fun, do other stuff, but you also got to work, same hours, things like that. So just having that balance in my life and balance on the football field and, lifting weights and all that stuff, training, that's something I'm going to take with me for forever.
Love that foundation, Connor. Let's dig into who you are off the field for a little bit. You talked about loving hunting, fishing, and outdoors. The Boise lifestyle seems like a natural fit. How important was that in your collegiate decision?
Yeah, I won't say so much so. For me, it's kind of like NIL. Like, it's nice to have it. It's not like the main goal. I've grown up fishing. I had a fishing pole in my hand when I was 2 years old. So fishing is kind of how I balance, like I was talking about earlier, it's kind of how I balance out the stresses of life and things like that. So to land somewhere where, fishing's very prevalent and there's a lot of places where you can go and do that sort of thing, and also hunting. I got a lot of teammates on the team who also fish and hunt, and have also invited me to go out with them. So, yeah, it's very nice to have it. I wouldn't say that it was like a major factor in my recruitment process.
Your teammates describe you as the hardest worker in the room with integrity and grit. Where does that come from?
I'll say just my drive to want to be the best. You can look at it on paper. Like when I was a freshman, and I would pay attention to some of the like the rankings and stuff like on Prep Red Zone and 247 and things like that. And I would get angry when someone was above me. Even if it was somebody that I train with, I would get mad because they would put another guy above me. And this was like sophomore year. And I just let that anger drive me to work harder than them. And just, like I was saying, you can look at it like I went from like, and I'm just spitballing here, but I went from like 200th in the state, all positions, like sophomore year, to the 8th best player in the state, all positions, number one lineman, like by far. And although rankings, I don't think they matter a whole lot, but it's definitely a sign to see like how hard a kid's working.
Yeah, a good metric to see going that far down to that far up. So
Absolutely.
yeah. Your mom told you never stop on a hill. It's a powerful metaphor. How has that stuck with you mentally when things get tough?
Absolutely. Yeah. There's been a lot of hills in my journey. And none of which I've stopped for. And that kind of goes back. She would tell me when she was jogging earlier when I was like in elementary school, she would be jogging and me and my brother would be behind her on bikes. And we would always, there's a ton of hills by my house and we'd always go up those hills. And she never let me or my brother stop on them. And so that kind of made sense to me. It's like, yeah, if you stop here, it's going to be harder to get your momentum going back again. And then that just made sense for me to put that into life and put that into football. And it's like, okay, now that I'm seeing, when I see adversity, I can implement that and just be like, okay, this is going to pass. Like it's the next step. What's the next step? And just kind of keeping my eyes on the horizon, like what's to come.
What drives you more, the desire to win or the fear of losing?
Fear of losing. Fear of losing, absolutely. Because and I have lost before. And those times just built like a certain type of fire inside of me. And I'm like, it's the worst feeling in the world for me to lose. And anytime that I've ever lost is always like, okay, how did I lose? Like what mistakes did I make? How can I fix them? And how can I master them so I don't make that mistake again in the future? And I think that's I think that will propel me to victory. And so it kind of goes hand in hand, like um, fear of losing, you work hard so you don't lose, and then you win. So yeah, I'll say fear of losing.
And if you ask any athlete and even me, we always remember those defeats way better than the wins that are out there. And but as you said, one of the great things about losing is there's a lot of great learning in defeat.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about your development at THS. Your body has gone through a lot of transformation. You're a large dude, but you've gone from cutting weight for rehab, building muscle, growing into your frame. Where are you physically right now, and how confident are you in where your body is heading as you make your way to the blue?
I'm very confident. I'm training with a guy. His name's Ryan Paul, at a new athlete in Vancouver, 5 times a week, and he really focuses on. I don't know if you guys knew this, but I was dealing with a little bit of a foot injury. I broke my toe halfway through the football season last year, and I played through it, and I thought it was just turf toe. I played through it, and then it never got better, so I had to get scans, and sure enough, it was fractured. So I've been going through that a little bit, getting that healed up and rehab. So I've been able to focus more so, not necessarily on like heavy weights, but a lot of isometrics, a lot of like how fast can I move weight, rather than how much weight I can move. And so I think that it's a lot of like athlete like health type at new athlete. And so I'm very confident in my body to answer your question. I want to get there and get rolling as soon as possible. And I'll be fully cleared before I get to Boise. And, I'm stronger than I've ever been before. And I'm very confident and eager to see how I hold up in college.
So you're still right there about 6'7", pushing 290?
Yeah. I'm 6'7", 290, 292 pounds right now. I'm trying to put on another 10 pounds. I want to get to 300 before I leave in May. And then I want to probably put on another 10 to 15 before the season starts.
Awesome. Okay, so you've played tackle and guard in big games. How has that versatility helped you get understanding of the offensive line as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of situational awareness. The offensive line, you got to understand how much space you have. And playing guard, because I'm primarily play tackle, but playing guard helped me understand that guards have to use their feet to use their space as most efficient as possible. And so, I mean, this is like kind of the nitpicky stuff that I'll get into, like when I talk to my guards and stuff in Boise, kind of like preference things, but it's also like, how far back am I setting? How, like how much space am I giving the guard? Because that D tackle is going to try to get around you and try to make a move on you. So some guards like having less space, some like having more space. So that's just something that I'm aware of and something that I'm going to make sure that me and the guards are going to have, be on the same page.
I really appreciate your patience. I know that we've covered this in the article, but again, this is for our viewers who haven't read the article. You should check it out. It's on BroncoNationUpdates.com. Just put in the search bar Connor LaGrow, and it'll take you right to that article. As you mentioned in the article, going from a quiet freshman to a vocal leader, what flipped that switch for you?
It was honestly, I knew my teammates were going to depend on me. And I think being in a team situation, you want to hear from your teammates. And it's a lot different hearing something from your teammate than from your coaches, even if they're saying the same thing. But I knew they needed me. I knew the team needed a voice, and I knew that should be me. And I want to do everything that I could to help my team because I love them. Those are my brothers. Those are some of my best friends, and I wanted to do anything that I could to help us win more games, be more confident, play with a little bit more of an edge. And so before games, we always have like a pregame speech, and I was always the main guy for that. And I loved it. That's something that I'm never going to get back again, being the main guy in high school. So yeah, I would say just my teammates depended on me and just me pulling through like that.
And your league was loaded with D1 talent. How much did that competition accelerate your growth? As you said, football is kind of a later on thing for you. So how much of an accelerant was that for you?
Yeah, it was huge. Getting thrown into the fire with a bunch of guys who are in a position where I knew I wanted to be. I wanted to be those guys that are making plays on Friday nights. And so being around that and seeing that, I mean, we had my sophomore year, we had like 4 3-stars and a 4-star and a bunch of other guys that are now in college. But I say all that to say I was around those guys and around that really high top tier talent. Just practicing every single day around those guys and learning from them. But going up against those kinds of players, it was huge for me. There's a lot of very good defensive ends in my league, and I got to play a lot of them. And I wouldn't trade it for anything. I like to be challenged. I don't want some real scrawny guy at DN on Friday nights where I can just pancake him 100 times. It's like I'm not going to learn anything from that, but some guy that's going to challenge me, I'm going to learn and I'm going to grow and I'm going to become a better offensive lineman.
You got to have a reason to stay up on, to get over that hill that your mom's talking about, right?
Absolutely.
No blindside blocks taking them all the way to the outside of the end zone then, huh?
There was a couple of those, but my reps were kind of a pain in the butt because they always flagged me if I took them to the sideline, and then my coach would get mad at me and get on my case about it, and I'm just like, it's for the highlight reel. So,
well, let's talk about some highlight stuff. Get into some good fun stuff here. 14 pancake blocks in 3 quarters. Break that down for us. What was clicking that game?
Yeah. So that was a game against Oregon City, a team in my league. So we see them every year. And when I was a sophomore, I was swinging between JV and varsity. And we were beating them pretty bad that year when I was a sophomore. And so, my coach called my name, to go in at left tackle. And I just remember getting my tail whipped. I mean, it was bad. Like if you go back and watch that film, it was embarrassing, honestly. And I took that personal. I was like, I was undersized. I was, I wasn't using my technique. it was just nothing good about it. And I took that personal because that was the really only game that I got to go and get a lot of playing time against good players. I took that personal and I made it a point to just beat the crap out of that school every single year. And so junior year, I had similar stats. I think 10 pancakes in 3 quarters, and then senior year 14 of them. But yeah, I made it a point to work harder than everybody else, like we were talking about before, and get so much better that it's just like now I'm the guy that's making them embarrassed. So that game was always personal to me. And then, with that, a lot of preparation came into that, a lot of film. I was watching film on those guys before practice even started in the summer, as I was doing for most opponents. But yeah, I mean, that game, it just I don't like that school. I don't like any school, honestly, other than Tualatin, but especially them. And yeah, it was personal for me to make it a point.
So basically what I'm hearing is we need to get on the phone with Coach D and company and let him know that you need to play and get your tail whooped the first year so that they'll never beat you again the rest of the years, right?
Absolutely.
All right, yeah. You've been voted lineman of the year by your teammates back-to-back years in a row. What does it mean when that recognition comes from inside your own locker room?
Oh, it's everything. It's everything. Those guys, like I said before, those guys are my brothers. I love every single one of those guys, and to see them recognize me as as a leader and as a dominant lineman just means the world. There's not really anybody else that it would mean more than my teammates.
Yeah. You said your length and your footwork are your biggest strengths. How much time have you invested into refining those tools?
Yeah. Countless hours of working with my 5-on-5 team in the off season, just doing a lot of reps. I mean, it would probably be close to 2 hours on, weekends in Vancouver, and then on Tuesdays and Thursdays in, one of my rival schools, because that's the coach who coached there. But it was thousands of reps went into my footwork and my technique and just doing things over and over and over again. So that way, when it gets into a game, it just becomes muscle memory instead of me having to think about it.
Stories about muscle memory. If you want to stick around after, we can talk about it. But yeah, you're focused now on increasing size and strength. What does that next level physically look like for you?
Yeah, I know that one of the biggest question marks for me specifically is going to be my strength, and I'm working that like I was saying before, Monday through Friday, every single day for an hour and a half, 2 hours. And that's something that I'm really hammering this time around. And every off season, I like to pick out like one focal point. And this off season, the focal point is getting stronger and getting bigger and gaining weight. So that way, when I get an opportunity to go up against those guys, I can make an impact.
What's your target?
I want to get to 300 pounds before I leave to Boise, and then 310 by the season.
And all muscle, no fat.
Yeah, all muscle. I already got too much fat on me.
Well, speaking of Boise State, let's talk about your path to the iconic blue, the mecca of all college football, right here in Boise, Idaho. From our article, you mentioned the Air Force was the first school to really push hard, and that kind of opened things up. What was that moment like when the recruitment became real?
I think the first real welcome to college recruiting was when I would have coaches just completely ghosting me, and I was just kind of welcome to the business side of things. It's like there's another guy that's bigger, faster, stronger than you. It's kind of like an audition, and if someone has more favorable traits than you, I mean, that's just the tough reality of it. I would say it got real. It got real when coaches started to choose other people than me.
And then, as you mentioned in the article, you did have some interest from FAU, but you narrowed it down to Boise State, Oregon State, and then some others. But once you took your official visit, you said it became clear. What made Boise State separate itself?
I mean, the people, honestly, it's the culture. Coach Danielson knows what he's doing when it comes to recruitment. He he makes you feel like you're not just a jersey number. He really takes the time to get to know you and to reach you on a personal level. And then same with all the other coaches there. You just feel very important and very special in that locker room and when you're around the coaches and meetings and things like that. And yeah, you're going to get coached hard, and I'm expecting that. But they also love the crap out of us, and they really do care about us. So I think that was the biggest thing that stood out to me. And once I kind of saw that side of things, it was like it made it pretty clear.
I really admire Coach D because he reminds of this show here. Like the interview is great, but we do actually care about the individual who we're talking to. And so, but I like that from everyone that we've talked to, he's straight up with everyone. And, I think that that's the least that anybody could expect, in a relationship like that, a personal relationship, is just be straight up with me. And I think he does a great job at doing that. You did talk about conversations with your family, your coaches, even your faith. What did that decision process look like internally?
Yeah, it was like you said, it was a lot of talks with my Lord and my parents and mentors and coaches here in Tualatin. And I think honestly, I just had to ask myself the question, what do I want in college? Do I want to go somewhere where I'm going to start first day? Do I want to go somewhere where I'm going to get developed? Do I want somewhere where I'm going to, have a lot of money? And honestly, it came down to personally and inside, it was like I need to get developed more than anything. And Boise State's going to do that. And I think actually on one of my visits there, they had a slideshow of like before and after of football players before like freshman year to senior year. And I mean, the transformations in that slide, it was just incredible. And I saw that and I was like, okay, this school really develops. They really take the time to make their football players instead of buying like some other schools, especially in today's age with NIL and things like that. And that's what I wanted. and Coach D being himself and just loving me and caring for me and everything. It was like kind of a warm welcome to Boise, and I loved it. And um, yeah, that's kind of what it looked like.
So you thought about it, you saw the proof and what was going on in the program. You talked about it with your parents. You put it at the feet of Jesus. You prayed about it, and then the call to Coach Danielson. What was that moment like for you?
It was so surreal. That's a phone call that I've been dreaming of ever since I touched the football, and ever since really I knew what the term a full ride scholarship meant. That's been something that I've been chasing, and it was a very surreal moment to kind of be in the moment and be like, okay, this is actually me now. It's not the guys that I've been watching for years. It's my time, and it was just so surreal because Coach Danielson was super happy for me. He was pumped. He was like, okay, when can I tell the other coaches? I'm like, wait, just I'll get there. Just wait a minute, and I mean, it was a great experience.
Well, Connor, this next part, we're going to dive into what Bronco Nation really cares about, what's coming. What are you doing to prepare yourself for the next step? You're already doing Boise State workouts, plus your extra training you mentioned earlier. Uh, what does your weekly grind look like right now?
Yeah. I touched a little bit on that before. It's Monday through Friday at New Athlete with Ryan Paul. He's developed, there's like a plaque in the gym. I think he's developed like 250 some NFL players, 500 some professional players all around in different sports. So I know I'm in good hands there. He's really focused on getting me prepared for college football and just getting me stronger and denser. I'm already starting to notice my body filling out a little bit more because I am a little bit younger. Um, but yeah, and then once I get cleared to do some field work, I'll be doing that on the weekends too. So I've got a pretty busy schedule, and then um, my I just eat a ton of food, honestly. And like my mom's grocery bill, she was telling me the other day, it's outrageous, and I eat everything, and hope to gain a lot of weight and hope to make that muscle.
Tell you to get a job in a restaurant so you can eat for free.
I thought about that, yeah.
You've worked with B12 performance coaches for years. How much have they helped refine your technique?
Yeah. Um, they've done a great job in really hammering down, just kind of taking me from like the absolute basics to what I'm going to start seeing in college football. And I would say they've taught me most of my technique, and especially in pass protection, learning the different jobs of like my hand, like punch timing, my hips, my legs, like just starting to figure out how to move like an offensive lineman. Those are kind of in the earlier stages, and then they've brought me along to now I'm starting to do like a lot of stuff that I'm going to see in college football. And they also go through and I watch film with them on like NFL players and college linemen, and they've been great though. They've been a really big part in um, my journey.
You said your goal is to start as a true freshman. That's a bold goal, especially for a lineman in this day and era with the nil and the being able to bring in that talent, especially in a season where some might say Danielson might be there on the edge of the hot seat if he doesn't start winning P4 games. Um, so, what gives you confidence you can compete right away?
I would just say my work ethic. When I get there, I strive to be the hardest worker in the weight room, on the field, and I know I know that I got to hit some certain benchmarks in order to be a starter in college football, especially in the Division I level. Um, but I think once I hit those and my violence and my tenacity I think when coach sees that, I think he's going to be very impressed. And I mean, that's the goal right there, is to start day one. And the other big part of that is I don't like Oregon. So, I want to start against them. They passed up on me, and so I want to, kind of prove it to them that, like, I'm here. I'm, just kind of let them know my worth.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be circled on every Bronco fans calendar if it's not already.
Absolutely.
But Boise State, for your work ethic and everything, that's great and everything. They also have a reputation for developing NFL tackles. How much did that factor into your decision to play at Boise State?
Yeah. On my official visit, it was Coach Potter. I was having a meeting with Coach Potter, and he was taking me through some of the slideshows that he prepared. And one of them was talking about how in the last, like, 20-something years, every single left tackle that started for Boise State's went to the league. And that's my goal, is to make it into the NFL. And I know that Boise is going to develop me, and they've done it for many, many years. They know how to do it. And I would say that was a big contributor to my commitment.
And I mean, even this year in the 2026 NFL draft, Casey's probably prospected to go in the second or third round. So, I mean, that's just another win for Boise State and the program and what they do in developing the line. So, great choice, Connor. Excellent choice. This is the place to be if you're an offensive lineman. I want to hit on something that really stood out, and that's your adversity. I know that on the line, it's typical for a lineman to go through some injuries. 4 knee procedures, then a shoulder surgery. That's a brutal stretch. And again, it's not uncommon for the guys in the trenches. There's a lot of violence in there. What did that period teach you about yourself?
Yeah, it's when something like that happens to me, where I can't lift and I can't better myself physically, I try to better myself mentally. And so that time was a time I used to start to ask myself questions like, what I wanted out of this, where I wanted to be. And then also kind of going back to the never stop on a hill part. My mom also taught me, just look into the future. And so when I had those surgeries, when I had those setbacks, I couldn't really focus on the now. I couldn't focus on the where my process is at now, where my body's at now. I got to look in the future, because in the future, it's not going to be the same as it is right now. And I'm going through, like I said, with a little bit of the toe stuff. In a month, I'm going to be moving just like everybody else. And so my sights are set on the future and the next step. And that's something that I had to learn with the process of, with the surgeries and the adversities and the different setbacks and things like that. But yeah, it was a really good time for me to take advantage of getting my mental right.
Optimism. And I'm big on quotes. If you watch any of these shows, and another one of my favorite quotes is my attitude determines my altitude. And so and you just touched on that. So big picture. Okay, so you said that slowed your jump between your junior and senior year, those injuries, but historically you've made big leaps. So imagine there's a lot of optimism, and just like your mom instructed you, don't stop on that hill. Do you feel another big jump coming?
Definitely, I do. And I mean, like you were saying, you can go back and look at my freshman to sophomore to junior year. It's just complete. It's night and day different. I expect to make that same jump this off season, and my body's going to look completely different in just 3-4 months. So I know I'm going to make that jump. I feel that jump coming, and it's kind of like a growth spurt. Like you can kind of feel it coming. I definitely feel it coming. And yeah, I think in a few months, I'm going to be in a really good spot.
And I'm really big on mental health. One of the things that I like to ask our guests before they get on the show, especially if they're in the midst of the season, is I like to do a headspace check, right? Just to see, where you're at. It's not about the interview; it's about who you are. What you're struggling with, because mentally, that's the main thing, basically, in a lot of these sports. But when you go through something like that physically, and even right now you're going through that, that turf toe, and you touched a little bit about it, but how do you stay locked in and mentally on the big picture?
Yeah, it's the next step. It's the next. And like, even in physical therapy, when I was working on my knee, it was okay. I can't quite walk yet, but when am I going to be able to start walking with crutches? Okay, when am I going to start jogging? Okay, when am I going to start squatting? Okay, when am I going to start jumping and running and doing the field work? And so it's always like the next best thing. That's always what I'm focused on. And right now, the next best thing for me is starting to do field work again. And that's going to come here really soon. And that's been something to kind of keep my mind off of the now, like I was saying a little bit earlier, and focusing on what's to come, because what's to come is a lot greater than what's right now.
Keep it simple. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Yes, sir.
Do you ever look back on everything and how this little stretch has happened with the knees and the shoulders and the toe, and look at your mom and say, and you were worried about CTE?
Yeah. It's definitely unexpected. I mean, it's part of the game. It's as many good things that's coming out of it. There's also going to be some drawbacks and some tough times, and that's all right. That's just part of it, and I've come to peace with it. It's just part of the game. Everybody goes through it, so it's it can be a big deal if you make it, but if you don't make it, then it's it's really just a speed bump.
Well, Connor, we're gonna lighten the mood a little here and go through some lightning round questions and let Bronco Nation get to know who Connor is off of the blue, based on some quick questions here. So you're either going to gain a bunch of fans or you're not. We'll see. All right. We've already, with one of our questions, we've already had a beach volleyball duo go through a rough patch of not being able to win in a set 3. But that's something that we can talk about later too. Nick, you can cut that out if you want. Let's get into the lightning round. Connor, your favorite warm-up song?
Ooh, I gotta check my phone. Let's see. IYB by Annalie Chapa.
All right. Your favorite Boise restaurant?
The James, right across campus.
Does pineapple go on pizza?
It does.
Stanley or Owala?
Owala.
Yeti or Arctic?
Yeti.
Fry sauce or ketchup?
Fry sauce.
Your favorite non-football sport to watch?
Basketball.
Blue Bunny or Bluebell ice cream?
Tillamook, baby. Homegrown.
Snow or beaches?
Beaches, for sure.
Your favorite venue that's not your home venue that you've played in?
Sherwood High School. They put a lot of money into that stadium.
All right. And finally, if you're stuck on an island, what 3 items are you bringing?
Got to bring a knife. You got to bring a pot and a magnifying glass.
All right. Most people say a cell phone so they can call for help, but those are good options too.
That would be pretty smart, yeah.
All right.
No, but you got all the good things. You got the knife to cut things, the pot to boil the water, and What was the other one?
Magnifying glass.
Magnifying glass to
Oh,
start
And
fire.
the fire to boil the water. All right.
Yes,
That's
sir.
smart. Well, Connor, I always ask our guests this before we wrap it up. What is your message to Bronco Nation, and what's next for you?
Are you asking like generally or about myself?
What do you want? What do you want Bronco Nation to know about you, and what do you bring in to the blue?
Yeah, you guys are getting a hard worker that is not only determined and focused on making myself better, but making everybody around me better.
Awesome. Well, Connor, man, we truly appreciate you coming on. Bronco Nation is going to love your mindset, your work ethic, and the way you approach the game.
Yep.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you having me.
This is exactly the kind of guy Boise State builds with. Tough, disciplined, hungry, and driven. Can't wait to see you on the blue.
All right. I appreciate it, fellas.
Bronco Nation, that's Connor LaGrow, future Boise State offensive lineman. If you're not excited about the future of this program, you should be. Make sure you like, subscribe, and follow Bronco Nation updates for more exclusive content like this. For Sam Gillette, Connor, I'm Nick Wade. This has been Blue Turf Talk. We'll see you next time. Take care.
Go Broncos.
Go Broncos.
Go Broncos.
Community matters, and Blue Elevation proves it. Partnering with Boise State athletes, we bring joy to families in need. Like our Christmas on the Blue Outreach, blessing children from the Boise Rescue Mission. Together with Bronco Nation, we spread cheer, hope, and support at home and abroad. Blue Elevation, where community and compassion meet. Give at bronconationupdates.com/become.